Hi Tong 2022 end of year exam for P5. This is for paper 2. Let's start from the last question. Okay, so for paper 2, there are 17 questions. Let's look at question 17 first. So I'll be selecting some questions from this paper to go through. Question 17. Marcus bought some books and files for a total of $192. 2 books and 1 file cost $11.20. Each book costs 3 times as much as a file. He bought 8 more books than files. So part A, what is the cost of 1 file? All right, so he bought some books and files for a total of 192. So we don't know how much this 192, how many books and how many files there is, but we know that 2 books and 1 file cost $11.20. Then we also know that each book is thrice as much as a file. Okay, so I can write down the ratio of a book to a file. So 3:1. Now, if 2 books and 1 file cost $11.20, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change everything into units. So each book is represented by 3 units. Each file is represented by 1 unit. So 2 books and 1 file, if I were to convert them into units, 2 books will be 2 times 3 units. Then 1 file is just 1 unit. Okay, so this will give us a total of 7 units. So since that's $11.20, right? So I know that 7 units is $11.20. So 1 unit, I'll just divide by 7. Okay, then I'll get 160. So what's the cost of 1 file? 1 file is 1 unit, so answer 160 for part A. Okay, for part B, how many files did Marcus buy? So remember earlier we found that he spent a total of $192, right? So let's highlight that. So I know that there's a total of $192 spent, and we don't know how many books, how many files, but I know that there's actually 8 more books than files. Okay, so for part B is actually grouping concept, but what we need to do first is to remove the extra. Okay, so the extra will be the 8 books. So let's remove 8 books first. Oh, we need to find 1 book first. Okay, so earlier we know that 1 file is 160. So 1 book costs 3 times as much. So we'll multiply it by 3. 480. So to recap, we're actually finding 8 extra books. So 8 books. $480 times 8, 3840. So this 3840, we will remove it from the actual total, which is $192. So that I can get the new total amount of money. Okay, so 192 minus 3840. This will give us $153.60. Okay, so now I can do grouping because I have removed the 8 extra books. So what I do is I will group 1 book and 1 file inside 1 group. Okay, 1 book 480, 1 file is 160. This is what I have in 1 group. I have many groups. And the new total is 153.6. Okay, so this is grouping. So in this grouping question, we have to find out what is one group. So the total in one group. $480 and $160. So this is $640. Then number of groups. We'll take the total and divide. The new total to divide. Okay, not the 192. So after we have divided this is 24 groups. Question asks, how many files did Marcus buy? So if there are 24 groups, means there's 24 times of this. So the number of files in each group is 1. Not 160, but 1 file. So we just take 24 times 1. Okay, so that's the answer. Do we need to add 8? No need, because the 8 is the books. So we are not finding books, but if we are finding books, we have to add back the 8. Okay, question 16. A rectangular tank, 31 cm, 46 cm, and 50 cm for the dimensions, contains 6.8 liters of water at first. What is the capacity of the rectangular tank? Okay, so the capacity, you just multiply length times breadth times height. $71,300 cubic cm. Okay, then B. The tap was turned on. Water flowed from the tap into the tank at a rate of 3 liters per minute. At this rate, how long did it take to fill the tank? So the tank already had some water, right? There is 6.8 liters of water inside. So what we do is we take the whole capacity, minus away the water first, so as to find how much needs to be filled. So 71,300 cubic cm. We have to convert it, let's convert it to liters. Okay, so you get 71.3 liters. Then with that, we take that to minus the water that's already inside. And this will give us the volume that is yet to be filled. And the tap is going to fill it at 3 liters per minute. So how long does it take? The time taken, you take the total volume needed, which is 64.5, divided by 3. So the time taken is 21.5 minutes. Question 15. Lines are drawn to form figures that show a pattern. So you see figure 2, you have 2 squares, figure 2, you have 4, and then figure 3, you have 6 squares. The number of squares keep increasing by 2, okay, or it's a multiple of 2, you can also say that. Then the number of lines drawn increases by 5 each time. So how many lines are needed to form figure 4? You just take 17 plus 5. Okay, so the number of squares, 2, 4, 6, 8, it's a multiple of 2, right? So if you want figure 36, how many squares would that be? 36 times 2. Because the number of squares are all multiples. Multiple of 2. Like 2 times the figure number. Part C, which figure is drawn with 62 lines. So the lines, we're looking at the last column now. It follows a pattern of common difference of 5, starting with 7. Okay, so this we use interval concept. So starting with 7 and then you keep adding 5. So until you get a figure with 62 lines. So what we do is we take 62, minus away pattern number 1, which has 7 lines. Which is 55. Now 55 is actually made up of all the plus 5s. And every plus 5 is what we'll refer to as an interval. So when you want to find how many plus 5s are there, we divide, right? And that is to find the number of intervals. So 55 divided by 5 equals to 11. So 11 is the interval number that is not the figure number. So from interval, how do we get to figure number? Interval is always 1 less than the figure number. So we add 1. Answer 12, figure 12. Okay, question 14. Alice, Brenda, Charles, and David shared a box of cards. David took 2/5 of the cards from the box. Charles took 3/10 of the remaining cards. Brenda took 18 more cards than Charles, and Alice took the rest of the cards. Alice had 54 cards. How many cards were there in the box at first? Okay, so if the question says 3/10 of the remaining, then most likely you'll have to draw a model. Since of the remaining means like you need to know what's the remainder. Okay, so start off with 2/5. That's the first fraction given. Okay, so 2/5 by David. Then 3/10 of the remaining cards went to Charles. So I'll divide this by 10. And this is to Charles. Okay, what about Brenda? Brenda is 18 more than Charles. So it's slightly more than 3 units. Okay, maybe let's say this is 18. With this is Brenda. And Alice took the rest. Okay. So Alice has 54, so this must be 54. So what we can do is we take 54 at 18 to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 units of the second model. Then 4 units of the second model, so we divide by 4. 18. Okay, so each unit of the second model is 18. Now the second model has 10 units. So I'll multiply by 10. And this is the remainder. Okay, 180. So from there, I take 180, divide by 3, and I times 5 to find the total. Okay, so that's the answer. So make sure you draw a model properly, and it shouldn't be too difficult for this question. Okay. Okay, question 13. The question 13 is kind of tricky. One of the harder questions in this paper. Okay, so in the diagram, U, V, W, the whole thing is a triangle. U, Y, X, and U, V, Y, X, and U, Y, Z are straight lines. U, Y, Z, U, V, Y, X. Okay. Then Y is the midpoint. Y is the midpoint. So these two must be equal. Then Z is also the midpoint of U, V, W. So this is equal. WX is twice as long as UX. Then we have a 48, there's a 52. What is the area of the shaded part? Okay, so twice. This is twice of this. Okay, then 48 divided by 2, 24. So this is 24, 24. Then 52 divided by 2, 26. So this is 26, 26. Now to find the area of the shaded part, it's a quadrilateral, but I can't use like any formula to find this type of unknown, unnamed quadrilateral, right? So what we do is you have to find area of triangles and find a way to get to the shaded part. So it's actually triangle, okay, I can find the whole thing, which is like VUW, right? The whole thing, UVW, half times 52 times 48. So with that, I can find the area of, I can also find this because I know this is 26 and 24, okay? But it's a little difficult if I want to use half times base times height to find my UVX. Okay, and it will also be difficult to find XVW because I don't have my base and height. Okay, so let's find a big triangle first. Then I'll show you what you can find later. So triangle UVW is half times base times height, 1248. Okay, now take a look at these two triangles. UVX, okay, and XVW. Okay, can you see that these two triangles, they actually have the same height, and the height is Vx. Okay, the height is Vx. So for two triangles with the same height, the area ratio will be the same as the base ratio. Okay, so that only applies if your height is the same for the two triangles. So same thing, conversely, if the base are the same, then the area ratio will follow the height ratio. Okay, so in this case, height is the same for the yellow and the green triangle. So the area will follow the area ratio will follow the base ratio. So if this is 1, 2, then the area is also 1 and 2. Okay, so for the base, triangle UVX to triangle XVW is 1 to 2, which means that the area of UVX to XVW is also 1 to 2. So I can find this green triangle, then after that, when I minus away this VYZ, I'll get the shaded part. Okay, so 128, sorry, 1248, not 128. So the total, which is 3 units, is 1248. One unit is 416. Then you're gonna find the green triangle, which is 2 units. 832. Okay, then we find this part here, VYZ. Okay, let's write here, triangle VYZ will be half times base times height, which is 312. Hence, shaded is 832, which is the green triangle, minus 312. 520. That's the answer. Okay, shaded parts 520. Square cm. Question 12. We have a graph question here. At a sports carnival, cups of Milo were distributed from a Milo van to students. The line graph shows the volume of Milo left in the Milo van at different times of the day. So if you look at the graph, the line graph is going down because more and more people went for the Milo, right? So there should be less after every hour. So let's write down how much is each at each hour first. Okay, so how do we read this? 0 to 100, 5 intervals. So each interval is 20. So 320, 40, 60, 360. Then the next one at 11 o'clock, 2 hours later, that's 280. Then the next one, 120, 100, and then 60. So during which 2 hour interval was the decrease in the volume of Milo the greatest? So when you want to look for the greatest decrease, right, the graph will drop the most. Okay, it's like the steepest. So which part? Definitely not this part here, right? This one drops by a bit only. So which one has the greatest drop? Is actually from 11 to 1. So 11 to 0, 0 to 13, 0, 0. B, how many liters of Milo was distributed from 9 to 1700? Okay, so we take the starting 360 minus away the end. So 300 liters. Volume of each cup of Milo distributed was 120 ml. How many cups of Milo were distributed during that time frame from 9 to 1700? So we know that 300 liters is what was distributed. Let's convert it to ml. 300,000. So every cup is 120. So how many cups were there? You divide by 120. Answer 2,500 cups. Okay, question number 13. No, sorry, 11. All right. Aisha, Val, and Carl picked an average of 128 cupcakes. So you can find the total. Aisha and Belle baked an average of 126 cupcakes. Belle and Carl average 115. So how many did Belle bake? Okay, so we find the total first using the average. A, B, and C is 128 times 3, which is 384. Then next line, you can find A and B, which is 126 times 2. Then the last one, B plus C. So this is 115 times 2. Okay, so from all these, what can we find? How we are supposed to find B. So you can take the first line, minus away the second line, and you're left with C. Okay. So the first line, 384, minus 252, which is 132. That's what Carl baked. So to find B, I'll just take away C from the last one. So answer 98. Okay, so Belle baked 98 cupcakes. All right, let's now skip to question 8. There were 147 children and some adults at a carnival. 2/3 of the adults were men and the rest were women. 2/9 of the people at a carnival were women. How many people were there at a carnival? See, so if you see a question like that, it's best if you use ratio and then find common base after that. So if 2/3 were men, the rest were women, you can come up with a ratio men to women, right? So if 2/3 were men, then the rest, which is 1/3, will be women. How about the 2/9? 2/9 of the people at the carnival were women. So women, 2. So the 9 is referring to the total. So we do have a common base between these two ratios, which is the women. So this is 2. All right. Now, we are given the number of children, so 147 children. I need to find children. How many units is that? So children means the total minus the adults, right? And adults will be 6 units. Total 9 units. So children will actually be 9u minus 6u, 3u. Then we can say that 3 units is 147. So 147 divided by 3, 49. How many people were there at carnival? So that's looking for total. So 9 units. 9 times 49. Answer 441. Next question, we'll look at question 6. Angles question. So in the figure, we have A, B, C, D, a trapezium. So make sure in a trapezium, what's so special? A pair of parallel lines, make sure they are labeled. So yes, they are labeled for you. Then we have a rhombus, B, C, D, E. So for rhombus, we know that we have 4 equal sides. Okay, so let's label 4 equal sides. And also 2 pairs of parallel lines. So BC and ED are also parallel. Okay, so AE equals to ED. It's shown on the diagram. Then we have 1 to 8 degrees. Find ADC. ADC, this big angle over here. Okay, so first we have isosceles here. I can actually find this portion. Okay, so 180 minus 128. Okay, so looking for EDA. 180 degrees minus 128. Then we have to divide by 2. This will give us 26 degrees. So here is 26 degrees. So can you see that there's actually a Z? Okay, you may do more steps, but it's fine, okay, as long as they make sense. So this is what I'm looking at. There is a Z, which means that if there's a 1 to 8 here, then alternate angles here, this is also 1 to 8. So angle ABC is 1 to 8 plus 26. 154 degrees. If you had gone to find like angle BED, then after that 180 minus that angle to get this angle, also can. Okay, it's fine. Otherwise, can use this alternate angles. Question 5. Okay, so in the figure below, all lines meet at right angles. What is the perimeter of the figure below? So I have a 21 here. Right, so I'll take 21. I have another 21, which is the sum of all of these. Okay, so that's the green ones. Then I have 20. Okay, so 20. And I have another 20, which is all these sides. So there are two 20s. Then what I do is, since I've highlighted everything, which means that I've included all the sides, then you just add them up. Okay, so answer is 82. Okay, so that's all for the questions for paper 2. This is for Tong 2022.